Welcome back to Inherited Dawn, a One Piece podcast.
Today, we are breaking down Chapter 93.
And the title should just be Justice, or maybe Demolition, because this is it. This is the moment we've been waiting for. Luffy doesn't just fight Arlong, he decides to destroy the very concept of Arlong Park.
He destroys the room, the one place that represents 8 years of Nami's stolen life. It's one of the most significant symbolic acts in the series so far.
Absolutely. And if you're here for a crew that doesn't just save you, but saves you from your own trauma, well, you're in the right place. Consider joining our crew by following the show. We'd love to have you on this voyage with us.
Let's get into it. The chapter opens right in the middle of the fight, in that top floor cartography room.
Yeah, and Luffy has just broken off a piece of Arlong's Kiribachi, that giant saw sword. He's holding the broken piece and he just looks at Arlong and asks him straight up, "What is she to you?"
Not who is she, what is she? It's a very specific, pointed question. He's asking about her value in Arlong's world. He's intentionally dehumanizing her in the question itself to see if Arlong will correct him or agree with the premise. It's a brilliant rhetorical trap.
And Arlong walks right into it, jaws first. He doesn't even blink. He's like, yeah, of course she's a what. The guy is so blinded by his own ideology, he can't even see the test being laid out in front of him.
Arlong's answer tells you everything you need to know about him. He says she's human, but a useful one, a tool. He says he'll give her anything she wants as long as she keeps drawing maps for him. He thinks this is a generous arrangement.
He thinks he's being a good boss. That's the scariest part. He's not even being mustache-twirling evil here. This is his genuine worldview. He's saying, I give my tool the best oil, the best care. What more could it want?
He sees her as a resource, a high-value asset that produces a product he desires. There's no personhood in his assessment at all. Her happiness is only relevant in as much as it increases her productivity. It's the logic of a slaver.
Exactly. He's not a captain, he's a factory owner, and Nami's his best machine. And you can just see the switch flip in Luffy's head. He heard the only answer he needed to hear. There's no negotiation, no trying to talk Arlong into being a better person. The verdict is in.
It's a complete contrast to every other major antagonist so far. Buggy was a clown obsessed with treasure and fame. Kuro was a schemer who wanted to retire. Don Krieg was a brute who equated power with the size of his armada. Arlong is a systemic evil. He's built an entire society based on racial supremacy and exploitation.
And that's why this fight feels so different. It's not just about beating a guy, it's about tearing down an ideology.
Outside, Johnny and Yosaku are panicking, as they usually are. They're just watching the tower, worried about what's happening to their Aniki. They provide the ground-level perspective for us.
And then something comes flying out of the window. It's Nami's desk. Luffy just boots it right out of the room and it crashes to the ground below. It's not just a kick, it's a declaration of intent. The first brick being pulled out of the wall of her prison.
Nami just watches it fall. She looks completely taken aback. She's not crying yet, not screaming. She just seems stunned, utterly bewildered. The panel of her face is just wide eyes and a slightly open mouth.
I mean, can you blame her? For 8 years, that desk, that room, that work, it was her entire world. It was her burden, yes, but it was also her purpose. It was the tool of her eventual salvation. She bled on that desk. She cried on it. It's a part of her.
And to see it so casually destroyed must be an incredible shock to the system. Who would do that? Who would destroy her life's work, the very thing she was sacrificing everything for?
Only someone who understood that it wasn't her life's work. It was her cage. Luffy, in his beautiful simplicity, saw it for what it was. He doesn't see 8 years of cartography. He sees 8 years of slavery. And you don't preserve a slave's chains. You shatter them.
Arlong is furious, absolutely livid, and tellingly, he's not screaming about Luffy attacking him. He's screaming about his cartography supplies, his maps, his assets, all the things Nami made for him. My maps, my survey room, my.
He's more upset about property damage than he is about the fight itself. That tells you everything. And as Nami watches all these papers, all these maps she bled for just flutter down from the sky, we get this flashback. It's a tiny Nami, a little kid, and Arlong is showing her the room for the first time.
It's such a powerful use of the flashback. He's telling her this is where she'll work. He's gesturing around magnanimously as if he's bestowing a great gift upon her. But with the context we have now, it reframes the entire room. This wasn't a gift. It was the unveiling of her prison cell, a gilded cage, but a cage nonetheless.
Chilling. It's absolutely chilling. That smiling, condescending face of his, looking down at this terrified little girl. So back in the present, Arlong, in a rage, swings the broken kiribachi at Luffy. Luffy just dodges, and in the process, he smashes up even more of the room. More maps get destroyed, a whole shelf of books and tools goes flying.
Arlong is losing his mind. He's not even focused on Luffy as an opponent anymore. He's just watching his precious maps get ruined. It's a critical error in combat. He's distracted. His objective has shifted from defeating his enemy to preserving his assets.
That's what makes Luffy so terrifying to guys like this. He doesn't play by their rules. Arlong thinks this is about power, or territory, or treasure. Luffy is here for his friend, and he has correctly identified that this room is the enemy just as much as Arlong is. You can't reason with someone who has completely rejected your value system.
We see another flashback, this time of Arlong abusing her, throwing books at her, yelling at her, forcing her to work hour after hour. It's a confirmation of what we already knew, but seeing it intercut with the present makes the destruction of the room so much more cathartic. Each broken table leg, each torn map is a retroactive blow against the Arlong of the past.
It really is. It's like Luffy is reaching back in time and punching the guy who hurt that little girl. Arlong finally gets his hands on Luffy. He grabs him and he's just screaming. He yells that it took Nami 8 years to make those maps. He's quantifying her life in terms of labor. 8 years of work.
And outside, as he's screaming that, we cut back to Nami. She's watching the paper fall like snow. Tears are just streaming down her face, and she whispers, "Thank you, Luffy."
That's the moment. That's the whole arc right there. She understands. She understands he's not destroying her dream. He's destroying her burden. He's doing the one thing she never could have done herself. To destroy that room would have been to admit that her 8 years of suffering were meaningless. She was trapped by the sunk cost fallacy.
Exactly. She'd invested her entire youth, her very soul, into that project. To destroy it would feel like self-annihilation. But Luffy, as an outside force, doesn't have that baggage. He can see it clearly for the symbol of oppression it is. He's able to perform the act of liberation she couldn't.
And that thank you is just... it's everything. It's relief. It's gratitude. It's the sound of 8 years of chains falling away. The weight is finally lifted.
It's an incredible act of empathy. He heard her story from Nojiko. He saw her stab her own arm. He heard her ask for help. And his answer isn't just to beat up the bad guy. His answer is to erase the very source of her pain.
And he does it without asking. He doesn't say, "Is it okay if I break your stuff?" He just knows. He trusts his gut, and he trusts his connection to his friend. That's captain material right there. He takes on the responsibility of the decision so she doesn't have to.
Meanwhile, Arlong is still monologuing about his stolen property. He bites Luffy in the neck, a classic shark move, drawing blood, trying to assert his physical, biological dominance.
Not even a little bit fazed. Luffy is completely unfazed. He just looks Arlong dead in the eye, blood on his neck, and delivers one of the coldest lines in the whole series. He says he doesn't know a thing about fishmen, or cartography, or her village.
And I know how to help her.
Chills every single time. It's the entire Luffy philosophy boiled down into one sentence. I don't need to understand your complexities of your problem. I don't need your life story, your political situation, your historical context. I just need to know that you're my friend and you're hurting, and I will punch that hurt until it goes away.
It's a rejection of intellectualism in favor of pure, empathetic action. He's admitting his ignorance, which is a sign of wisdom in itself. He's not pretending to understand Nami's trauma on a deep level. He doesn't need to. He understands the result of that trauma, her pain, and he knows how to fix that. It's the core of the Straw Hat ethos.
It's beautiful, man. It's what makes him the future king. And then he demonstrates exactly how he's going to help. He reaches up, grabs Arlong's big, sawtooth nose.
The very symbol of Arlong's pride, the feature he constantly boasts about, this biological weapon that supposedly makes him superior to any human.
And just snaps it, breaks it right out of place. The source of Arlong's pride, the feature he lords over everyone, and Luffy just grabs it and breaks it like a twig. The sound effect, the gaki, is just so satisfying. It's the ultimate disrespect.
Arlong is in shock. His eyes are wide with disbelief. It's not just the pain, it's the violation of his supposed superiority. A lowly human just broke his defining fishman feature. Luffy follows it up by stating so calmly that he cannot allow this room to exist. It's a declaration, a verdict.
He's not asking for permission. He's not negotiating. He's the judge, jury, and executioner for this room and everything it represents. It has to go. And then he kicks up.
His leg stretches, but straight up, punching right through the ceiling, all the way through the roof of Arlong Park. His foot is just sticking out of the top of the tower.
What a visual. He's literally got the high ground now, from inside the room. It's such an absurd, creative use of his powers. Arlong, meanwhile, pops his nose back into place with a sickening crunch. He's tough, you have to give him that.
And he's arrogant, incredibly so. He scoffs at Luffy at the very idea that a mere human could destroy his fortress, his symbol of power. He says, "My Arlong Park will never be destroyed by a human like you." Famous last words.
Big mistake. Huge. Arlong spins towards Luffy for another attack, a move that looks like his Shark on Darts attack, and bites him again, this time right in the chest. He gets a full mouth of rubbery flesh, but it's too late. The trap has already been sprung.
But Luffy's attack was already in motion. The leg that went through the roof, it's coming back down. He's using the entire height of the tower to build momentum.
With a vengeance, he screams Gomu Gomu no Ono, the Gum Gum axe, and his foot, with all the force of gravity and rubber combined, just comes crashing down directly on top of Arlong.
The name is so fitting. An Ono is an axe. It's not a weapon for a duel like a sword. It's a tool for demolition, for felling trees. I have to think Oda chose that name specifically. Luffy is chopping down Arlong Park.
Super! The impact is immense. It doesn't just knock Arlong down, it propels him downwards, crashing through the floor of the cartography room.
Then the next floor with a massive body-badin.
And the next, a whole chain reaction of destruction.
All the way down. He smashes through every single level of the tower until he hits the ground floor. One single, continuous, devastating blow. It's not a flurry of punches. It's one definitive, final attack.
It's the single most powerful attack we've seen from Luffy up to this point, by a long shot. Nothing he did to Krieg or Kuro even comes close to this level of environmental destruction.
The sheer force of the impact compromises the entire building. The tower begins to crack from top to bottom. The structural integrity is gone. Oda gives us these incredible wide shots of the building just fracturing, stone splitting apart.
Super. That's how you do it. You don't just win the fight, you bring the whole house down. You use their monument to their own ego as the weapon that crushes them. It's poetic. The symbol of their oppression becomes their tomb. Outside, everyone sees the tower starting to crumble. The Straw Hats, the villagers, they all start to back away, preparing to evacuate the area. There's this sense of awe and terror. But Nami doesn't move. She's just staring at the tower, horrified. And this time, it's not for the room, it's for him. She doesn't want to leave Luffy inside.
Her liberator is in the collapsing building. This is the moment her allegiance is cemented. Her immediate instinctual fear is not for herself or the village, but for her nakama. She cries out his name, and the tower comes down completely. Just a pile of rubble.
And that's where the chapter ends, on Nami's scream in a cloud of dust where Arlong Park's central tower used to be. What an ending. Pure cinematic chaos.
It's the perfect cliffhanger. We know Luffy is made of rubber, so blunt force trauma isn't usually his biggest concern. But an entire building? That's a different level of threat. Oda leaves us in that moment of suspense, forcing us to wait a whole week to see if he's okay.
My heart is still pounding, man. The catharsis of that room being destroyed piece by piece, and then the whole tower coming down. Oda built up 8 years of in-story pain and released it all in one chapter. Incredible.
And it's so important that Luffy did it. Nami was trapped by that sunk cost fallacy we mentioned. She'd invested so much of her life, her youth, into those maps, into that room. Destroying it would have felt like admitting her entire sacrifice was for nothing.
But Luffy comes in with this beautiful, simple, brute force empathy. He sees that the investment is the poison, so he just gets rid of it. He takes that choice out of her hands so she doesn't have to carry the weight of it.
It's one of the defining moments of their relationship. He understood her without her having to explain the deepest parts of her trauma. He just saw the cage and broke it.
He really did. Bro, it's just perfect. It's what makes him the man who will be king of the pirates. It's not about strength, not really. It's about this profound action-based understanding of people.
I also think it's important that Arlong's last moments of clarity are all about the maps. He's not screaming about his pride or his men or his hatred of humans. He's screaming about the 8 years of labor he extracted.
He's a slaver, a colonizer. That's what it comes down to. He saw an island, saw its people, and saw a resource to be exploited. And Luffy just leveled his entire operation. He didn't just punch a bad guy, he bankrupted a corrupt corporation with his fists.
The destruction of Arlong Park is the physical manifestation of Kokoyasi Village being freed. The symbol of their oppression is now just a pile of rocks. The landscape has been permanently altered, just as their lives have been.
And somewhere in that pile of rocks is a very beat-up fishman and a boy in a straw hat. I cannot wait to see how the next chapter opens.
Speaking of, let us know in the comments what you thought of the Gomu Gomu no Axe. Was it the most satisfying finishing move we've seen so far? We'd love to hear your thoughts.
All right, Robin, hit me with it. Predictions for chapter 94. What do you have for me?
Okay, first prediction. The chapter will open with a few moments of tense silence around the rubble. Then a hand will burst out and Luffy will emerge, covered in dust, probably laughing or complaining that he's hungry. The tension will break immediately.
Classic Luffy. I can see that. That's a good one. What else?
Second, with Arlong defeated and the tower gone, we are going to get the official recruitment. The final Nami, you're our Nakama moment. I think Luffy will walk over to her, maybe place the straw hat on her head again, and it will be made official.
Oh, that's it. That's the stuff. The tears will be flowing. Okay, last one from you.
My third prediction is that Captain Nezumi and the Marines are going to show up. They'll arrive expecting to collect their bribe from Arlong, only to find his entire base destroyed. They'll try to take credit or arrest the pirates, but the entire village of Kokoyasi will stand in their way, protecting the Straw Hats.
Ooh, a town standing up for their saviors. I love that. Okay, my turn. My first prediction is that we'll see Hachan's reaction. I think seeing Arlong defeated so completely by a human will shatter his worldview. He won't fight anymore. He'll just be in shock, and this will be the beginning of his own journey away from that toxic ideology.
A redemption arc starting now? That's an interesting thought. I like it.
Second prediction, the very next thing we focus on after Luffy's out of the rubble will be Genzo. He's going to find Nami, maybe Nojiko too, and we're going to get that emotional reunion. The father figure finally seeing her free from the burden he's watched her carry her whole life.
The quiet, emotional payoff. Yes, that feels right. What's your last one?
My final prediction is the chapter will end on a reveal. Nami will look at her Arlong Pirates tattoo, the mark of her slavery, and we'll see her decision to cover it up. I think the final panel will be a close-up of her new tattoo, the pinwheel and the tangerine.
A symbol of Genzo and Belmare, her real family. That would be a perfect closing note for the fight.
It's the only way to end it, reclaiming her own body.
Before we go, a quick note on Oda's author comment for this week. It's just a little snippet of him overhearing some old ladies in his neighborhood talking about the rain.
In the middle of this epic, world-changing fight, he's just thinking about heartwarming neighborhood conversations.
It's a nice reminder of the gentle soul behind this incredible battle. Even at his most intense, he's grounded in these simple human moments.
The man is a treasure. All right, that's all the time we have for this chapter.
We'll see you next time for the aftermath.